Welcome to the DesignCast, where we talk about all things design. I'm Stephen Underwood, a student graphic designer and photographer from the UK. Every Friday we will bring you the latest news in the design world, answer your questions, and even interview designers and the like right here. You can listen to us wherever you get your podcasts or watch us on our YouTube channel, the DesignCast podcast. So our main topic for today is all about how we communicate. So this is going to sound a bit of a weird one until I get into it, just bear with me. So every day we communicate all the time. Every day, every second we live. We communicate through text messages, phone calls, WhatsApp, Snapchat, Instagram. Social media has come a long way, and that is a big driver for communication. We're talking to people, writing things like notes, letters, postcards, more than you can think. Every single day we communicate in one way or another, and that's just some ways to communicate. That is more what you would call, I guess, natural communication. We do it every day. We expect to communicate to people, otherwise we wouldn't really live much of a life. Now, I don't think you can probably quite see where I'm going with this, but just stick with me. In design and creative world, we also communicate, but in a very different way. We communicate between the client and the designer, which means back and forth sort of ideas, emails, phone calls, just like I was saying. But there's also another type of communication that is visual communication. It's how we visually communicate an idea or something to an audience, a client, a crowd, it depends. So for example, if a client came to me, let's say it was a travelling circus and they wanted a poster made that communicated to the audience where it's going to be and the time on this poster, I would then have to design that and make sure it communicates and informs the audience clearly. So that's also where we come into different things such as path, which isn't necessarily used all the time in the design world, but it's similar sort of things to this. So I use path, purpose, audience and format, to put it simply. It can be referred to in different ways with different words and things, but path is the way I remember it. So what is the purpose of the design? So why are you making it, or why are you doing it? What is the audience? So like I was just talking about, how you communicate to a specific audience, so a target audience, will come on to that. And also format, so how will it be formatted? A leaflet, a brochure, an advert, you name it. So when a client comes to you, as a graphic designer anyway, and sometimes even a photographer and some other creative jobs, you are basically solving a problem. If you look up what a graphic designer is, that is almost a definition of a graphic designer: solving a problem with a creative mind, puzzle solving and figuring it out. So for example, if a company came to me and they wanted a logo for their brand, I would then work out with my client what it's about, do some plans, figure out what their company is about, what they want in the logo, put that all together, and I figure out how it would work best and how it would look. And then when that gets shown on business cards or posters to their audience, that then communicates the ideas that I've already talked about. So let's say like the Coca-Cola logo has like a swish underneath the word Coca-Cola. That can refer to many things. Most will think of it as a swish of liquid, so drink, and then that basically means that, it's lost my words now. It just means communicates, that's it, the whole word I've been using this podcast, I already forgot. So it communicates the idea of that to the audience. I hope I'm making sense here, just stick with me. I know I've said that a lot as well. So basically, the idea of communicating something is making sure that it gets across to someone. So when I send a text message to someone, I want to make sure they get that text message. And because we rely on those things so much, we hope it should. And then when it comes to design, you hope that the logo you've made or the design you've made will communicate well and pay off at the end of the day, basically. So if we look into, we'll start with purpose. So why do you want to make a design? It sort of goes back to the point I was on about. All designs have a purpose, whether that be to solve a problem, a niche, design a logo. It's quite simple, really. Or sometimes the purpose might also be things like to inform an audience or engage an audience. So engaging makes something stand out. So they look at the poster and then they might go to the website, so they're engaged. Or to inform someone what time an event is, or things like that. So that's sort of what purpose is. It's why you decide to do it, or why the client needs the design or the work done. So audience, again, is fairly simple. So you might have, it might be a group of youths you're targeting as an audience. You could have, might be specifically 17-year-olds. It could be everyone. It could be adults. It could be people who are in hospital. It could be people with certain things, or people who have cancer, or different sort of audience you're trying to target. It can be very specific or very broad. But it's generally quite good to have a specific audience, because otherwise you struggle to create that purpose and then whistle your design or work down to actually work properly. And then we come on to format, which is very simple. It's how it will be shown, I guess, or used. So will it be a leaflet, a business card, an advert, a poster, an animation, you name it, that's the format. So when you put all those things together, if you've done a good job, you will communicate your ideas that you may have come up with a client as well, to then inform or engage the audience that you have picked out in that particular format. So you can see where it sort of comes together there. So the reason I've been talking about this, you might think I'm a bit stupid talking about how we communicate graphic design. But one of the main reasons I talked about is graphic design is essential to our world, or art or photography. It's essential. Just like theatre or music, it's essential. But graphic design has a really big mark in the world, and art, I guess, comes into this a bit as well. It's everywhere you look, there is graphics. There is graphic art, graphic production, animation, videos, music. Almost everywhere you look and listen, you see these creative forms, but graphic design really stands out. I am in my studio right now and I can see multiple posters around me. Graphic design. Every poster has been designed graphically. They're not art posters, they are digital prints. They are posters. If I go into town, I will see maybe a poster or a leaflet in a shop, digital print. A label on a packet or a packaging, digital print. It's again graphics, it's everywhere. Just like you might have heard, maths is everywhere. It's the same with graphics. So the reason I've been talking about this communication is it's really key, because you have to get it right. Because graphics is everywhere, you have to make sure it hits that spot, that niche. Otherwise, you're screwed. You're buggered, in other words. So when you work with a client, when you're making a design, you really need to make sure it's right. Obviously, you can have revisions if the client's not quite happy with something or they want to change something. That's a bit different. But when it finally goes out, wherever it's being formatted or shown, it has to be right. So it will inform and engage the audience properly. But the last point I want to come on to is, I am releasing this podcast a little bit early because, as some of you sneaky designers may know, it is Graphic Design Day today, World Graphic Design Day. So just want to take a moment to thank all the graphic designers out there, and of course other artists and freelancers. As I'm not a fully qualified or professional graphic designer yet, I really do appreciate the designers and that out there that are inspiring me, helping me grow. And that's why I sort of make this podcast, really, just to inspire other people and try to get my messages across, because I'm so passionate about this. So I guess what I'm saying is, design, we wouldn't be anywhere without designers in this world, really, because newspapers are even an example. If you look back to old times when newspapers are made, they look grim or dark or old, and just be like big block text of black font or typeface, and they'd be alright. But now you have pictures, it's more engaging, so that's where photography comes in. You see things like that. So it's the small details that add up to make the bigger picture, no pun intended there. So at the end of the day, I think what I'm trying to say is, if we didn't have graphic designs, if we didn't have graphics, our world would be very drab, dull, it would still be a world, it would still function. We have survived without art, graphics and music in the past, but I think we have to really appreciate the creatives we have in this world and how we can keep pushing forward, because that engagement, that purpose, audience and format is what really counts. And without designers, we wouldn't have any of this. So this is sort of like a message to all designers out there. Thank you. So I think that is about today's episode. Yeah. So thank you for tuning in, and don't forget you can visit our website at Visit our website at www.thedesignCastpodcast.com, and also send in your questions to be answered at thedesignCastpodcast@gmail.com. That's thedesignCastpodcast@gmail.com. So I thank you very much for listening or watching, and I'll see you in the next one.